So, okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. I really appreciate it. As she said, I'm with, the company name is Rangam, and the program I'm with is SourceAbled. And we're just going to go over what I titled Stop Job Seeking and Start Job Finding. Next, please. So the agenda, we're just going to do a brief introduction to SourceAbled and also to myself. Potential barriers to employment research, employment search, especially as it relates to the population that SourceAbled serves, which are individuals on the spectrum with a neurodiversity or any kind of disability. How to address these barriers, and an overview of the SourceAbled services, and then we'll have time for questions and answers. Next, please. So first, I'm going to just give a little bit more of an introduction to myself. I've been with the SourceAbled division for about 2 years, and prior to this, worked for about 5 years for nonprofit, serving the population with disabilities. And I always like to say I have 26 years of hands-on experience as well. My oldest son, excuse me, is on the spectrum and has some assorted challenges, and I've seen, you know, how difficult it was for him to break into the employment arena. And so that's why I came to SourceAbled, and what we do is really important to me and to everybody that I work with. So the company itself, Rangam, was started about, 1995 as more of a traditional staffing company. But about 8 years ago, SourceAbled came into play. And our philosophy is empathy drives innovation. And that really drives everything that we do in our company. Next, please. So some disability and employment statistics. I love this first quote: work gives you meaning and purpose, and life is empty without it. And I think that's so true. A lot of times, you know, when you have a job, you're like, oh, I'd like some time off, but it does give you purpose and, you know, a contribution to society, not to mention, of course, an income. So just kind of some interesting facts I thought, did you know, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to look up a little bit closer to the screen, that 1 billion people globally have disabilities. 80% of disabilities are invisible as disabilities, so something you can't tell just by looking at an individual. 20% of the world's population are neurodivergent. 77 million people have autism worldwide. And when you think about all that, 86% of autistic adults are unemployed or underemployed. And honestly, that's not acceptable. So SourceAbled came about. We're an enterprise hiring program designed to deliver sustainable solutions for attracting, hiring, and retaining qualified talent, again, who are autistic, neurodivergent, or have a disability. Next, please. Sorry, you can go ahead and, yeah. So some common benefits and strengths, there's one more there. Okay, stop, thanks. Neurodivergent talent has a lot of valuable skills and unique capabilities, such as visual thinking, pattern recognition, and creative thought. I'm sorry, I guess my throat here. When you think of, and I hate to use this word, but the so-called, you know, traditional population of employment, we're stuck in the way we think quite often. You know, we're just stuck in routine. And the population we serve, there's really fosters a diversity of thought, different approaches and ideas of doing things, really tends to boost the morale of the team. And there's a much higher retention rate of 85% of individuals that are hired in this population stay around with the company, you know, much longer than the so-called traditional population. So not only is it the right thing to do, but it makes good business sense as well. Next tab, please. Okay, you can click through about 3 of them. So the question here is, why are the unemployment rates so high in this population? Next. And it's really got nothing to do with the talent. Next. But it really has to do with the process. So, you know, don't blame yourself, blame the process that we have evolved into. Next slide, please. So the 3 biggest barriers are getting the interview, successfully getting through that interview, and then maintaining the job once you're hired. Next. the resume. I love this little picture. I love writing my resume, says nobody ever. Okay, we all know it's kind of a pain to do, but it's really crucial to your job search and to getting a job. So it's something that really does need a lot of thought and attention and continual tweaks as well. Next one, please. So what kind of resume should I use? There's 3 basic resumes that people consider. One is the traditional or chronological. One is a functional resume. And then there's the hybrid or kind of a combination of the 2. Next. The traditional resume, when you look at this resume, the thing that really stands out is like the chronological order. And it's very strictly formatted. It's using positions, and it really focuses on that so-called professional experience. And it's called traditional because this is the one that most people use. Next, please. And there's nothing wrong with using the traditional one, if you could click it again. But we would really recommend for most of the people that we work with a more functional resume, because that puts the focus on the accomplishments and not the dates. And while a lot of the people here may not have gone out into the world to get their professional career going yet, what we always say is non-traditional talent have non-traditional resumes. And what we mean by that is, if we present a talent to one of our clients, and one of my big clients is Pfizer, and I know there's Pfizer's in North Carolina, in the Sanford area is one of their locations. So I'll be using them as an example quite a bit. But if we were to present a talent or candidate, we refer to you as talent, to a hiring manager, and there was a job that started, stopped, started, stopped, started, stopped. Traditionally, that hiring manager is going to look at that resume, say, oh, job hopper, and push it to the side. So we are trying to educate them that no, this is non-traditional talent, has non-traditional resumes. And the main reason for that is because of the barriers that have been put up in front of the individuals. Such as being hired in not a supportive, inclusive environment. And if you're not supported and in an inclusive environment, you're not going to maintain that job. So therefore, it's not job hopping, it's not finding that right match. Next, please. So just this might seem real basic when it says basics of resumes, but it's important. So you need to use professional and free Gmail or Yahoo account versus an AOL account. That's considered kind of outdated. Next. The email should be listed by itself. So don't put it, like email and phone number on the same line. It needs to be visible. Most people are going to reach out to you via email, at least initially. So it needs to be by itself. Next. It should be professional. You might not believe this, but I probably have 3 or 4 resumes right now that I've looked at, and they will say like hotmama.com or videogamer.com. The resume is not the place to have those type of emails. It just needs to be very basic and very professional, because that says something about your job search and how serious you are. Next. Get rid of the objective and include summary. Now, not everybody's going to agree with this, but traditionally, people put the objective at the top of their resume. And the thought behind this is the objective really talks about like what I want, where the summary really gives an overview of your skill set and what you can provide to the client. So it focuses more on them and their needs, which quite honestly is what they're looking for. Next, please. Oh, and keep the font simple. Don't try, and even though it might look nice, don't get fancy with your font thinking it looks really pretty and elegant or whatever. It needs to be very simple, not only because it's easier to read for the hiring manager and the talent acquisition manager, but a lot of these are going through like artificial intelligence machines. And so it needs to be very basic. Next, please. So this is something I didn't know, but don't put solid lines separating sections on your resume. I had that for years. I had my name and my contact information, and then a line, and then my skill set, which I thought looked very nice. But we have learned that a lot of the applicant tracking systems are going to stop after that line. So if you have your information with your contact and name, that type of thing, a line, and then your skill set, your education, your experiences, there's a good chance that you are being knocked out of consideration with a lot of companies, because the artificial intelligence is reading to the line and that's all they see. So if you have a line, even though it looks nice, I would recommend removing that from your resume. Next, please. Seems like a real basic thing, but check the spelling. I mean, nothing is more of a turnoff to a hiring manager to see a misspelled word, and spell check isn't going to catch it. I mean, it will catch some things, but it's not, you know, it won't catch like a grammatic, like there and there, something like that. So I always give it to somebody who's never seen a resume before. Or like if I'm working with a talent and we think it looks great, I give it to a coworker to read because a fresh eye can catch something that we may not have. So that could be one thing you do. No texting jargon. I've seen this too. So the word is before, B-E-F-O-R-E, not B4. You don't want to act as though you're texting on your resume. And, you know, you might not always know the answers to the grammatical, you know, errors and questions, but there are so many resources out there. So, you know, reference one of those, or if you don't know, and if you're working with SourceAbled or someone else is helping you with this type of stuff, just ask them, you know, to help you out. Next, please. Don't forget transferable skills. You can click about 3 of them. Transferable skills are hugely important, especially if you are new to the employment market and don't have a lot of, you know, hands-on experience. So think about those volunteer experiences that you've had. Think about the skills you use every day, like Microsoft Office, computer skills, attention to detail. This could be hugely important. And just to kind of give you a personal, you know, example here, I was out of the market, out of the workforce for many years because I stayed home with my son that had some challenges to make sure everything was good. By the time I went back, I had like this 10-year gap. And so I had to kind of reinvent myself and reposition myself. And I use those volunteer experiences where I, you know, ran the walkathon at school, or I ran the market day, or this or that. And you can pull things out, you know, leadership skills, attention to detail, able to coordinate events. Think of your volunteer experiences, your hobbies, your work experiences, like if you've had schoolwork experience, your academic experiences, all of those count. They count in general, but especially if you are new to the work market and don't have any, you know, skills with the company yet. Next, please. So I've already said that one. Yeah, work experience at school and hobbies as well. Perfect example, we had an individual and we were looking at their resume and he wanted in IT and he didn't have any skills beyond school. And this particular company was looking for a little experience. He had a hobby where he did coding just for fun. Well, we could pull that skill set out, put it on his resume, and that's what really got the attention of the future employer. Next, please. Customize your resume, so important. Again, I know writing your resume isn't fun, it's time consuming, but those artificial intelligence machines are looking for keywords that are going to either pull you out and make you go to the hiring manager, or, you know, push you off to the side. So for every job that you're looking at, you need to tweak that resume and customize it to the specific job. And just by way of example, I have an individual I'm working with looking for several different jobs. So one of the roles looking for was a lab tech person. So for that one, we had him pull out skill sets from hands-on experiences in the lab classes that he had, because he didn't have any company experience. And we really focus on that skill set. But then when he also applied for a data coordinator role, then those lab skills were kind of secondary, and we pulled out any kind of things that he had done that would correspond more with that data coordinator role. Look at the qualifications or the must-haves in the job description, and then find a way to work that into your I mean, assuming it's true, but find a way to work that into your resume, because that's what the artificial intelligence is going to be pulling on, because they get so many resumes. You need something to make you rise to the top like that. Next, please. You can go to the next one. What's the artificial intelligence? Keep it basic, keep it short. I love this little cartoon thing here. So then I said, I spent at least 5 minutes reviewing each resume, and the hiring managers are just in tears laughing. The hiring managers get so many resumes. They don't have time to look at a 3-page resume, and they really don't want like paragraphs that tell the story behind what you've done. They want bullet points that, expanding upon the experience that is to be reserved for the actual interview. So keep it as targeted and simple as possible, and while still communicating your skill set. Next, please. So job boards, one more click. Use your job boards, of course. There's Indeed, there's LinkedIn. Of course, to do a little plug for our company, there's www.sourceabled.com, and we'll go into that a little bit. So use your traditional sites, but also use your sites that are more targeted towards the population of individuals that have some kind of disability. Of course, we're one, www.sourceabled.com. There's also Spectrum Careers. There's let's see, there's different career sites with Autism Speaks. Just, you can really Google and find a lot of different job boards that might target companies that are really looking to hire skilled, talented individuals within this population. Next, please. Networking, the dreaded word networking. A lot of people, the word networking terrifies them. And believe it or not, considering I'm speaking in front of a group now, oh my gosh, I used to break out in cold sweat with just the word, networking. For one, I envisioned, having to go to an event, and go around and really promote myself. And I'm like, no, can't do it. Next slide, please. But networking doesn't have to be that like official. Networking can be done for you actually by other people. So it can be providers if you're working with a provider, family, friends, school, connections. Right, I've had one individual that was hired because I made a connection with a biotech academy school in Massachusetts, and that person's teacher was an advocate for her. So he connected me to this woman. She's phenomenal. She's been there for about a month now. So now I'm reaching out to that school saying, hey, you have anybody else that's with these great skill sets? So that in that case, that individual networked through her teacher. I can honestly say that I have obtained every one of my jobs since my first job out of school through networking. And the first one, just to give you an example, my first career was market research. So when I got out of school, there's a company, and to your, you guys are much younger than I am, but when I got out of school, there's a company called AC Nielsen, and they were the company if you were in marketing research. I'm in the Chicagoland area. So I told my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and my husband, we were dating at the time, but at any rate, we drove by the big AC Nielsen building, so impressive. I'm like, that's where I want to work. Just making conversation. My father-in-law, he was a cop at O'Hare Airport, and he says, oh, I let AC Nielsen chauffeur park in the no parking zone all the time. I can let him know you want to work for the company. And I'm thinking, no way. He literally talked to AC Nielsen's chauffeur, who talked to AC Nielsen Jr., who told HR, this person, Ann, wants to work here. They said, give HR a call. I didn't want to do it. I thought there's no way. I called HR. They said, we've been waiting for your call. I got the job. It was networking. And I really didn't have anything more than anybody else applying for that job. I was a decent student. I wasn't an A student. It was at networking. Once I got that first job, my networks continued to work for me. So it's not as scary as it sounds. Next, please. So the struggle. Have you ever wished you could have a direct line to hiring managers? Hiring managers, let's say for a general Pfizer job, they put an ad out on their career website. I'll just again use lab tech, and they get definitely hundreds, if not thousands of applications. And you might feel like, my gosh, how can I compete with this? Especially when I already had these barriers put up in front of me, difficulty getting the interview, getting through the interview, and finding an inclusive, supportive environment. How do I deal with this? Next slide, please. We're that direct line to the hiring manager. Next, please. This is a rhetorical question, but which is better, doing it on your own or a team effort? Representation with connection, an advocate for your special skills, and the agility regarding placement. Next, please. So SourceAbled, like I said, came about because our co-owners recognize that there's a very skilled, talented, capable population of individuals that are neurodivergent, on the spectrum, have a disability of any kind, and they're not getting a fair break to prove themselves. And so that's what we're about. We connect this population with our clients who are Fortune 1000 clients. Now, a lot of companies are dedicated to inclusive hiring, but I feel like one of the big differences here is our client pays for the program. So Pfizer, for instance, pays for the program at their company. So they have put some skin into the game. They're committed because they put some money behind it. But also they are required to commit to a 3 to 6 month implementation program with us before they can talk to you, the talent. So we provide the hiring managers with training and 2 different types. So one would be the neurodiversity insights and understanding. Basically what that is not everybody that we know are familiar with working with the population that we serve. So I'll give an example with my son. They wouldn't know without this training that if my son was interviewing virtually, that during the interview, the entire interview, he would be looking over to the side and he would be picking his thumb. So to a hiring manager who does not have any exposure to this population, they might think, well, he's rude. He's not interested in this. No, not the case. It's too much stimulation to be looking eye to eye in the camera. Or another example, on his job site, if he gets super stressed, he turns around 3 times one direction, then turns around 3 times the other direction. There's no doubt that looks odd. Definitely does. But does it affect his productivity or the job he's doing? That's the type of things that we are educating the hiring managers about, that there's such good talent out there, and we just need to understand the differences that everybody has and how to work best. And I want to make it really clear that the jobs that are offered through the program, they are not watered down jobs. They are the same jobs that are offered to anybody. The only difference is how you get to that job and the support you have once you're on the job. Next, please. So the other training that we provide is interview training. And I'm just going to have you click through about 4 times. So what we focus on is competency on the left-hand side. What's your education? Be it hands-on education, academic education, because those are all educational experiences. Your credentials, any kind of certification, your experience, titles, skills, transferable skills, any kind of training, just your knowledge in general, not the fit. That fit isn't right. Not how you look, not how you dress. My son looks like an unmade bed half the time. If they were going to qualify him based on his appearance or his crazy uncombed hair, it wouldn't work out. Not on the personality. We all have different personalities. We all have quirky personalities. Not on the composure or the manners or the interests. Not on the fit. One more click, please. But on the competencies. So that's what we really focus on, the competencies. And that's what this interview training is about, to get people to understand that. Next, please. So another thing with this training is we're teaching, or educating, I should say, the hiring managers and talent acquisition managers to open the doors to the talent we represent. Screen in, not screen out. So to understand the talents and skills they do have, the qualifiable requirements, understand, again, those reasons for the gap of employment, not because they're not skilled or capable, probably not in an inclusive, supportive environment. Understand the transferable skills. It doesn't all have to be paid skills on the job. And then just other skills that can be beneficial to the job and the role. And don't close the door to the talent because, again, I keep saying it, but because non-traditional candidates have non-traditional resumes. A lot of what we talk about also is fixed versus flex requirements. And what I mean by that, I'm sure you've all seen job descriptions and you read these things, you're like, nobody can do all that. That's crazy what they're asking for. And generally it is. I mean, my job description, I read mine and I'm like, I can't do all that, yet I'm doing that job. So for every job that we're awarded through SourceAbled and again with Pfizer, we talk to the hiring manager and we look at it very closely and we say, okay, you say you need 3 years experience or more as a lab tech. If this person's been doing it for a year successfully, why do we need 3 years? Isn't that enough? And they're like, yeah, okay. So, okay, what if that person's been doing it successfully in their lab courses at school? Everything you've asked for, they can do. They've done it at school. They just haven't been paid for it. Is that acceptable? So it gets them to open their minds to like, yeah, I mean, just because it's the way we've always done it doesn't mean it's the way we have to do it. So we really go through those fixed versus flexibles. What on this job description do you really have to have? And what's really necessary and what's just like a nice to have. So trying to think. Okay, next, please. So how do we build upon your career search? When you go into our system, and I can show you how to do this later, and register as a job seeker, a very important thing to let you know is there's no cost to you as a job seeker or to any providers such as the school. Again, the program's paid for by the client, such as the Pfizers of the world. So if you were to go in and register as a job seeker, one that gives you sight on all opportunities that are all in our system, it gives our recruiters the opportunity to see your skill set and say, hey, I've got something that would match this person's skill set. But also it triggers somebody from our organization to reach out to you and schedule a meet and greet. It's about half an hour generally. And we go over your skill sets. We go over your transferable skills. We pull out those skills from talking to you that you might not have on your resume that's important. We also talk about, of course, career goals and what opportunities we know are available, but then also things I call housekeeping rules. We are well aware that not everybody in the population we serve drives. So we want to know, do you drive? If not, do you take public transportation? Are you comfortable with that? How close do you need to, your job need to be from public transportation? Things like that, which are important to you. Of course, we want to know how much you want to get paid and things of that nature. But also like what accommodations can we provide or can we request on your behalf to make you the most successful person that you can be on your job? And that can be so many different things. I mean, sometimes it's just like noise canceling headphones. Sometimes somebody we work with has like maybe severe anxiety and 5 days in the office is too much. So we can request a hybrid situation. We can request anything, and 9 times out of 10, our request is made. We go through inclusive interviewing strategies, like receiving questions or interview outline in advance. So as you know, interviewing is very anxiety inducing for anybody. And then you add to it maybe somebody who feels like they've been knocked down a few times because they haven't been given a fair break, or somebody who does have anxiety, it's even that much more so. So for instance, again, from Pfizer, I asked them for an outline of questions and I prepare you for that interview in advance, but we have accommodations in that Pfizer, for instance, requires panel interviews. Panel interviews can be very scary, having 4 people rapid fire questions at you, where they have an accommodation for us where you can do like 4 mini interviews. So it's not near as anxiety inducing. The other thing is myself or somebody like my position is on every interview with you. So we're there, it's virtual, but I would, introduce myself, And then I pretty much get off camera and mute unless you need help. And I've definitely had situations where somebody's nerves got the best of them and they could not verbalize some very strong experiences they had that was important to the job. So I just got back on the camera and say, hey, Joan, remember when you told me this? And then, oh my goodness, yes. And then get back off again. But that's part of the program. It's not looked down upon, or it's not like a negative thing to our clients. That's part of the program to help support you. Next, please. Oh, you know what? I did forget, sorry. This is Pfizer specific, but one of the things Pfizer does is guarantees that for each role that we submit people to, first of all, if we submit them, 3 people, for instance, they're just considered qualified. And why that's an advantage is normally they first have to go through a talent acquisition manager there, and they have to say, yes, this is good before they go to the hiring manager. They've said, nope, if you say they're qualified, they're qualified. So they've already skipped that first step. And then let's say we submit 3 individuals, the hiring manager is required to interview at least one of our 3, if not all 3. But that's huge. That is really increasing the odds of you're getting the job if you are, getting right to the hiring manager to have that opportunity to interview. Next, please. Are we doing okay on time, Leanne? Okay, great. So the concierge team is a support ecosystem around the talent once they've been hired. I personally think that this is one of the most significant pieces to the program, and I've seen repeatedly how this part of the program has made the difference between somebody maintaining their job and not. So our team of experts provides ongoing assistance and support to talent and managers. Next, please. What it is, the support ecosystem, is there's a lot of people involved, but say I get hired, I should back up just a minute. The roles that we have available are both contingent or contract jobs, where you would be an employee of Rangam SourceAbled working for our client, but there's also direct hire roles. And right now for Pfizer, most of the roles we place are for direct hire, meaning that you would be a Pfizer employee. But you still get all the support that the SourceAbled program provides to you. So once you're hired, you're aligned with a SourceAbled point of contact person. They happen to be called a Workforce Development Support Manager, or WDSM. That person is there to advocate on your behalf for whatever you need. You are also aligned with a peer buddy, which is somebody at your client's company that you can go to and ask anything. It's not going to affect your job. You can ask them anything. We actually consider it best practices. I have a peer buddy as well. You're also aligned with a mentor at the client's location, and if you're direct hire, it would be your colleague then, but a mentor whose whole point is to help you grow your career. Now, if you have a contract job, you still have that mentor and that peer buddy. It doesn't matter. You're still going to get that person to help you grow your career. And then your hiring manager. So you have this circle of individuals supporting you. But in addition, we have our SourceAbled concierge team, and they also are there to support. They're 24/7 support if you need any assistance in any way. And they set up regular ongoing meetings with you and your team and the SourceAbled concierge. Just basically, it's checks and balances to make sure things are going smoothly, because so many times when there's trouble on the job, it's just a miscommunication. Somebody didn't tell somebody, or somebody didn't interpret it correctly. So with these ongoing meetings, we are able to just find out what the problem is up front and just work on it. And again, so many times it's just a little tweaking here and there, different for each person. Next, please. So again, just to kind of wrap up the program, SourceAbled at a glance. I'll just read what it says, but it's an enterprise hiring program, again, designed to deliver sustainable solutions for attracting, hiring, and retaining qualified talent who are autistic, neurodivergent, or have disabilities. And the benefits, they provide an opportunity for talented, I'm skilled, this is a little small on my screen, skilled and capable individuals that are either underemployed or unemployed. They leverage the talents of this population. They expand the culture within the company, which is very beneficial to everybody. And again, like I said before, it's not only the right thing to do, but the retention is so much higher among this population. So it's good business sense. Next, please. So if you want to check this out, again, there's no cost and there's really no downside if you choose to register. But if you do choose to register, you can just go on to www.sourceable.com and you will see where it says job seeker. You can register as a job seeker, and then that will trigger somebody reaching out to you. But I also will say, if anybody wants to send their resume directly to me to expedite the process, I can get you right to the recruiters and say, hey, this person is looking for an opportunity. Check it out right away. I know I've been talking a lot about Pfizer because Pfizer is my main client, and we do have a location in Sanford, North Carolina, and they're always looking for a pipeline of talent. But that being said, I know just because you go to school in North Carolina doesn't mean you're necessarily from North Carolina or going to stay in North Carolina. So when you go onto our website, you can see at the very top, it says search jobs or job seekers. You can look around. We actually are throughout the United States. We do have pockets depending upon where our clients are, but you can look throughout the US. You can look at remote opportunities. We're actually global. So if you want to get outside the US, we have opportunities there as well. But anytime you get on and look at the opportunities, just realize that that's just a snapshot in time, because we're constantly getting new roles, and the roles that we have are constantly being, fulfilled. So look quite frequently because it's always changing. So I know I said a lot. What about some questions for me?
Does anyone have any questions? You guys are welcome to unmute yourselves or put it in the chat. I know I'm kind of curious what other organizations that you guys work with besides Pfizer.
Yeah, some of the organizations allow us to say their names and some of them don't. But we work with a number of other pharmaceutical companies, and I'll think of the ones that I know I can say. JP Morgan, we work with them. Let's see, we work with Wells Fargo. We work with some manufacturing companies. So yeah, so a lot of tech type of opportunities. For those individuals who might be looking for remote, right now, most of our roles are still on site. We see more remote opportunities being offered, and I believe that's because with the COVID and everything, people are realizing you can work remotely. I'm 100% remote, except for when I do, visits and such. But the remote opportunities tend to be like IT roles. I mean, think of the things you could do from home, IT roles, customer service, things of that nature. But there are a good number of opportunities where the company's willing to consider hybrid, if that's, of interest to people.
Do most of your services, are they virtual like meetings or in-person meetings?
Most of them are virtual. Most of them are, but that being said, I've had situations with one of our companies where one of the talent that was hired was struggling in a certain area, and it happened to be a Chicago company. So I just took a train down and spent a few days with the individual working with them. We can do that. It's mostly virtual, and it also is largely dependent upon the company, because some of our companies, such as Pfizer, they are very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say restrictive, because that's not really what I mean to say, but cautious, both because, they're the maker of the vaccine for COVID. They have to be cautious, but also there's a lot of things that they work with in the labs and in the building that are both confidential and are potentially hazardous. So it's very hard to get like somebody on there. But we can work, we primarily work virtually, in our case, a lot of Teams calls and things of that nature. If it's beneficial for somebody to go out and meet in person, we can do that as long as the company allows it.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Anne. Does anyone else have any questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. We have a poster contest for NDEAM week going on. I'm going to put that link in the chat if anyone's interested. We also have our last meetup right after this at 3 with the mentor team talking about their program. So I hope to see you guys there, and thank you, Anne, again for sharing. It was such a great presentation.
Oh, I appreciate the time, and please, nobody be shy. I put my email in the chat. Register if you have any questions, reach out to me, and feel free to send me your resume directly, and I can expedite that. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Bye.